Hello, and welcome. Today we are diving into something that connects two worlds you probably never thought would meet: middle school math and spiritual purpose.
It really all boils down to this one kind of wild question. How on earth can a standard sixth grade math lesson on geometry be used to explain something as huge as our spiritual purpose? I know, it sounds like a stretch, but the connection is surprisingly direct.
So in this explainer, we're going to break down an actual educational worksheet. And I mean actual. This isn't some made-up example. It's a real lesson plan that uses the simple principles of coordinate geometry to get at a much bigger idea about life.
Okay, but before we get to that big idea, we've got to get the fundamentals down. So first up, we're covering the three core geometric transformations from the lesson. Don't worry, they're really just fancy words for flips, slides, and turns.
The first one is called a reflection, but you can just think of it as a flip. It's exactly what it sounds like, what you see when you look in a mirror. You take a shape, you flip it over a line, and boom, you get a perfect reversed image on the other side.
And the math for this is actually pretty simple. So check out this example from the worksheet. We start with a point at the coordinates 3, 2. When we reflect it, or flip it, across that vertical y-axis, only the x value changes. It flips to its opposite. So the point lands perfectly on -3, 2. Simple as that.
Next up, we have translation. This one's even easier. It's just a slide. Imagine you're just pushing a checker across the board. Every single point on the shape moves the exact same distance and in the exact same direction. No twisting, no flipping, just a clean move from one spot to another.
So let's look at the example they give us. We start at the point 2, 4. The instructions are to slide it 5 units to the right and 3 units down. All you do is add 5 to the x-coordinate, that gives you 7, and then subtract 3 from the y-coordinate, which gives you 1. And there you go. The point lands right on 7, 1.
And that brings us to our final transformation, rotation. You guessed it, this is just a turn. For this one, you basically pin the shape to a fixed point, kind of like the center of a clock, and then you spin it a certain number of degrees. The whole thing just pivots around that one spot.
So the worksheet gives us this example. Start at point 1, 2. The task is to rotate it 90 degrees counterclockwise around the origin, point 0, 0. You just follow the math rule for that specific turn, and it lands right on -2, 1.
Okay, so here is the crucial point. This is the key that unlocks the whole rest of the lesson. In every single one of those moves, the flip, the slide, and the turn, the shape's position changes, but its essential nature, its size, its angles, its form, it doesn't change at all. It's the exact same shape, just in a different spot.
And that brings us to the main event. This is the pivot point of the whole lesson, where the hard and fast rules of geometry are used to explain something way more abstract. This is where the math meets the metaphor. And this slide just lays out the core analogy perfectly. You see on the left, you've got our geometric figure. Its position changes, but its fundamental shape is preserved. And then on the right, the worksheet draws this amazing parallel to the human heart. Its direction in life can change, but its uniqueness, who you are at your core, is preserved.
And here it is, the big idea straight from the source. This is the sentence that ties it all together. God transforms our hearts in a similar way, keeping our uniqueness but changing our direction and purpose. That's the central claim, connecting a math concept to a spiritual one.
So let's dig into that connection a little deeper, right? The entire metaphor, the whole thing, really hinges on this one powerful idea, the concept of change, without distortion.
So the lesson keeps reminding us that whether it's a flip, a slide, or a turn, the original shape is always preserved. It's just moved, not messed up or distorted. And then the source takes that exact same principle and applies it to a person's life, suggesting that you can be totally reoriented toward a new purpose without losing the fundamental stuff that makes you, you.
Which brings us to the end of the worksheet's journey. So where is all this transformation leading? What is the ultimate purpose that this lesson is trying to get at?
Well, the lesson anchors its final point in this specific Bible verse, Romans 8:28. It talks about all things working together for good according to a divine purpose. This is really the theological foundation for the whole metaphor. And here is the final application, the bow that ties it all together. The worksheet concludes that just as these geometric transformations move a shape on a grid, maybe to a better, more intentional position, the source suggests a divine transformation does the same thing for a person's life, reorienting it to align with a greater purpose.
So, whether you agree with the worksheet's conclusion or not, you've got to admit it's a pretty fascinating and creative use of analogy. And it leaves us with a final thought to chew on. What are the most powerful and maybe unexpected metaphors that you use in your own life to make sense of the world?